So what on earth does the atomic bomb have to do with editing our DNA? It might sound like a stretch, but stick with me. Today, we're going to draw a direct line from the dawn of the atomic age through the climate crisis and right to the frontier of gene editing. We're going to explore how humanity has repeatedly faced these world-changing technologies and why the ethical lessons we just failed to learn back then are more critical right now than ever before.
It all really kicks off right here. You see, the Manhattan Project wasn't just about building a bigger, more powerful weapon. This was the moment, the very first time, that our own creations posed a direct, species-level threat. That one moment in history created a moral crisis that, you could argue, we are still wrestling with today.
So let's go back to that first genie escaping the bottle. The development of the atomic bomb, whether we like it or not, kind of became the blueprint for how we handle, and, let's be honest, often mishandle, risks that threatened our very existence.
Now, what's fascinating and what often gets lost in the history books is that there was this profound ethical struggle happening right inside the Manhattan Project itself. Scientists, like the brilliant Leo Szilard, put together what was called the Frank Report, and in it, they argued that they had a moral duty that went way beyond just pure discovery. They pleaded for a demonstration of the bomb's power, not on a city. They called for international talks, for restraint, but their advice was tragically completely ignored, and that set a very dangerous precedent.
And this led to, well, a really problematic ethical calculation. The official justification for using the bomb was utilitarian. The argument was that it would ultimately save more lives than it took by preventing a ground invasion. But opponents pointed out that Japan was already on the verge of surrender. The really crucial point here is that this way of thinking normalized justifying catastrophic destruction based on speculative future gains. And that's a pattern we're going to see again.
So after the fact, the scientists were left asking, how do we control this thing we've unleashed? But because their initial warnings were dismissed, the world didn't choose a path of global cooperation. Nope. Instead, it chose national competition, deterrence, mutually assured destruction. The genie was well and truly out, and absolutely no one had a plan to put it back.
Okay, so this pattern of mishandling huge risks leads us directly into our next crisis. We're now shifting from the sudden, shocking flash of the bomb to the slow-motion catastrophe of climate change. And this is a problem that's rooted not in a single decision, but in our entire global economic system.
At the very heart of the climate crisis is this massive market failure. It's called a greenhouse gas externality. It sounds a bit technical, but the idea is actually super simple. It just means that the people in the industries causing the pollution, they don't pay the true cost. Instead, that bill gets passed on to other people in other places, and, most importantly, to people in the future. So here's how that systemic failure plays out, step by step. Industries pump out emissions with no direct penalty. Then, the consequences, the real costs of that pollution, are paid by future generations who had absolutely no say in the matter. And since there's no economic reason to stop, the system just keeps chugging along, producing more and more emissions. It's a vicious cycle.
And this gets us to the core ethical problem here: intergenerational inequity. It's a recognized legal principle, and it basically says it is profoundly unjust for one generation to impose such a heavy burden on the next. Think about it. Young people today who have contributed the least to this crisis are the ones who will bear its full impact. It's a massive debt imposed without their consent.
All right, now for our final leap. Let's turn to the next great challenge, where the risks become deeply personal, totally permanent, and heritable. We're talking about the power to edit the human genome itself.
Okay, this distinction is absolutely crucial to understand. First, you have somatic editing. Think of this like a medical treatment. It affects just one person, and the changes are not passed down. But then you have germline editing. This changes the code in sperm or eggs, which means those edits are passed down forever. This is the ethical red line, the Rubicon, because these changes are irreversible for every single descendant to come.
And the debate immediately slides into this classic territory, the line between therapy and enhancement. I mean, correcting a gene for a deadly heart condition. That seems pretty clearly like therapy, right? But what about improving someone's immune system beyond what's normal? Or increasing intelligence? That line gets very blurry, very, very fast. This puts the central question right in our faces, doesn't it? Once we perfect the tools to treat diseases, the temptation for enhancement is going to be immense. The profit motive alone could drive us right down this path, potentially creating a world of genetic haves and have-nots. So the real question is, where and how do we even begin to draw that line?
And there it is, the connection right back to our other crises. Just like climate change, germline editing imposes a debt on future generations.
But this isn't a financial debt or an environmental one. This is a biological debt, literally written into our DNA, and it's imposed without any consent from the people who'll have to live with the consequences.
So, after looking at the atom, the climate, and the genome, what's the takeaway? What have we learned? It's time to pull these lessons together and try to forge some kind of moral compass to help us navigate the incredible power we now hold in our hands.
When you lay it all out like this, the pattern is just undeniable. It's the same ethical failures again and again. In every case, we see us imposing huge risks on the future without consent. We suffer from this technological hubris, this belief that we can control these massive forces we barely understand. And we consistently fail on justice and equity, allowing the most vulnerable people to bear the heaviest costs.
So what's the solution? Well, first, we need what some people call an extended moral horizon. This means we have to move beyond just thinking about individual risks and benefits. For technologies that can affect our entire species, we have to start seriously weighing the potential for catastrophe for humanity as a whole.
Second, we absolutely have to embrace the precautionary principle. Now, this is not about banning innovation or stopping progress. Not at all. It's about flipping the script. It says that when the risks are uncertain, irreversible, and potentially catastrophic, the responsibility, the burden of proof, is on the innovators to show that their technology is safe before it's unleashed. It's really an act of justice for the future.
You know, the last century was all about our incredible power to unleash these genies. This century, our century, is going to be defined by whether we finally learn to control them or if they end up controlling us. The unlearned lesson from the atom, the climate, and the genome is that scientific progress isn't inevitable. It's a series of political and moral choices, and the responsibility to choose wisely, that rests with all of us.